I should refresh that. There we go. Okay, we are back and broadcasting. I decided to pick Estancia Lapacho since that's my regular Farm Sim 19 farm, at least for now. And I seem to have a tractor with a cultivator on the back. Interesting. I also have a tractor over there with the seeder on the back that's doing something. Let's go investigate that one first. Lovely red tyres. Okay, we are seeding wheat on this one. So we'll get that started up again. You're sitting there, so why are you sitting there not put away? Well, I guess that would be because field 11 has just been harvested. So I guess we better do something about that. We also own field 5 now, which is almost ready to harvest. What's that growing? Oh, wheat. Okay, so let's get the Valtra going. And oh, now this is interesting. Steering wheel has 0 resistance in Farm Sim 19. It has lots of resistance in Farm Sim 17. Obviously that's a setting somewhere that I've now got to try and figure out how to reinstall or reinstate. And as you can see, writing's a little bit small, but I do have what they call the vehicle inspector loaded on this game. I think the clock font is smaller as well at the top right of the screen. So what does this tell me over there? I'm driving 7 kilometers an hour in an N174 on field 20. No, I don't know what that says. There's a 2 there. I don't know what the 2 means, but it says 2. The seeder is running at 8 kilometers an hour behind the Agristar with a helper and has 11% wheat in the back. No. Oh no, 1169 wheat, 70 odd percent. Okay. So it's kind of a good thing. I think the writing's a little bit small. There may be something in the mod setup that allows me to change the font size. Also, I don't think I'm running version 1.3 at the moment. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. I put the reduced engine braking mod on. I'm not sure I'm going to keep that, because there is absolutely, it doesn't seem to be reduced, it seems to be non-existent. With the throttle down, I can control how fast the vehicle is running. But as soon as I take my foot off the throttle, it's almost like momentum takes over, and in some situations the tractor will speed up. See, no engine braking, and it accelerates. So I'm probably going to uninstall that mod. That's a bit of a pain in the butt. I don't know how realistic it is, but from a gameplay standpoint, it's it's causing a little bit of frustration, so I'll skip it. I'll get this job complete. Hopefully the Deutz will finish the seeding. What is the time here? Oh, it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's pretty much start of a new day. Since we've only got 3 fields, there's not a lot of work to do. Hi long hauler, I'm just testing out my OBS settings and my game settings at the moment. Had a little bit of an issue this morning with Farm Sim 17 wherein I couldn't get the steering wheel profile mapped in, and spent at least part of the afternoon today doing technical stuff, and what I discovered was that the Farm Sim 17 and Farm Sim 19 folders in documents had got hidden, and so the game was accessing the mods, but I couldn't see any of them in the mods folder. And I also the game couldn't see the keyboard mapping preferences in order to update them with my changes, and so it had somehow got messed up on the steering wheel and the side panel, and I was having to drive with the keyboard this morning, which was very frustrating. But I discovered that the folders had got hidden, and I unhid them all, and managed to come back to resave it, or reconfigure the Farm Sim 17 steering wheel and side panel, and I've still got some features aren't mapped correctly or at all, so I'm going to have to go back and figure out which ones I missed, but for the most part the buttons are set to what I want them to be set to, so I can, you can not kind of play the game on autopilot, but you can at least, you get used to where certain functions are mapped to, and having to remember what the keyboard buttons were for some of them was, what is it to connect a piece of equipment to the back of the tractor? Oh, how do I put it down? How do I unload it? This seems to be okay. I'm definitely going to remove the reduced engine braking off this. Looking for a twin joystick setup to go with a steering wheel. Oh, now SES Software did a post this week which had pictures of gamers' setup, and I saw at least one of them had a steering wheel and the Cytec side panel on each side. So you had two Cytec side panels. Obviously one of them mapped however it's supposed to be, and then the other one with all sorts of bespoke mapping. Now I'm not sure how easy I'd find that, because I'm right-handed, so the side panel is on my right-hand side and I've got a keyboard on the left. I am not very good with a left-handed joystick, trust me. So, but hey, it would appear you can do it. Now personally, I haven't found a reason to have two joysticks set up for Farm Sim. Although for Farm Sim 19 there's a fair bit of problems with mapping of the Cytec side panel. It looks like I've missed some patches. I may have to go to the overhead map and take a look at that. Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, for me, for Truck Sim, I drive an automatic gearbox because I'm not a trucker. I've never driven anything with more than 5 gears, and the car I'm driving at the moment doesn't have an H-gate shifter. It has a sequential semi-automatic shifter if I want to drive it in semi-automatic mode, or I can just stick it in drive and it'll do the automatic gearbox thing. Then again, the first vehicles I drove long term were motorcycles, which do have, well, they have a manual gearbox, but they are a sequential shift. So I'm kind of used to a sequential shifter, although in ATS and ETS2 I don't play with it set to sequential shifting. I play with a true automatic gearbox drive, neutral, reverse. And that I can understand. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a modder. I could probably put my mind to it, buy some soft... Oh, jeez. Yeah, I am turning the engine braking off this thing. I'm not particularly an artist, but I could probably figure out how to make mods. The problem is I spend all my daytime programming computers, and the last thing I want to do when I get home is to spend time programming computers. Now, maybe in a few years when I retire, I might say, okay, let's create some mods, but for right now, not really happening. Pedals are slipping. Just missed the end there. Well, you could always look up Courseplay and set that up to drive all your trucks. Because to set up a course, you just have to drive a vehicle from point A to point B while recording the trip, and then you can send any vehicle you have on the same trip. So what some people will do is they'll buy a pickup truck. They'll start course play record, they'll drive it from the store to the farm and park it up. Then they go back to the store, they'll buy a harvester and a tractor and maybe a semi, and they will set them all off on the course to drive back to the farm, and they don't have to do it themselves. Right now, not particularly inclined to download Courseplay or GPS since they're both in beta, and scripts like those tend to be edited quite heavily and quite frequently until they go into full release. And for the most part, I can't be bothered to keep up with the constant changes. So I don't. Things like, equipment and tractor mods, there are usually updates come through every once in a while. Sometimes you'll get a tractor comes out version 1 and it remains version 1 for months and months and months. So with equipment, I will tend to pull down a mod. I'll try it out, and if it works for me and it fits my theme, I'll keep it. And if I have issues with it or it doesn't look right, I'll dump it. I'm not particularly loyal to a tractor mod. Currently I've got loaded on this a set of Valtras, which are exactly the same as the in-game Valtras, except the modder has taken Giant's in-game Valtra models and edited them for real-world Valtra equipment. So he's increased... not too far. He's increased the number of engine options available, and he's reduced the paint options to genuine Valtra paint schemes. Now I am kind of heavily biased towards having Valtra tractors on my farms because they do make some very versatile vehicles that, if you only have 1 or 2 tractors on the farm, they work kind of well. This one, for example, the in-game one goes from about 145 horsepower all the way up to 203. The mod version goes from about 100 horsepower all the way up to 203. So if you want to save money, you can buy a very low rated Valtra N. It has 3-point hitch and power attachments front and rear, and it has the option of a front loader, and you can put narrow and regular tyres on it. So if I have a farm and have 1 tractor, this tractor fits very well, and goes all the way up to 200 horsepower. Now, for the most part, if you want a 200 horsepower tractor, you're going to be looking in the medium tractor section under quite expensive tractors. Since I started playing Farm Sim 19, I found that the Fendt Favorite is also a very versatile tractor and very cheap. It only goes up to 150 horsepower, but for a small starter tractor, it's a good tractor. You can fit front loader. It has front and rear 3-point PTO. You can put narrow tyres on it, and it costs less than 100,000 fully kitted out with the biggest engine and all the mod cons. What did I do? I did that. Do I have the weight on the front? Yes, and it's still raised. Good. But for a lot of games, for a lot of playthroughs, when I start off, I'm looking for one, maybe two tractors that can do all of the jobs I need them to do. Now, as I expand the farm and I buy a couple more fields, I'm gonna need to be able to do two jobs at the same time. But I only need one tractor for a front loader, so I'm gonna, I could go with, I think in this Farm Sim 19, you've got the Case 7200 Pro, which, once again, very versatile tractor. It's the smallest of the medium tractors, but the horsepower goes up to very high 200s. It might even be 300, I'm not sure. Now, the reason I don't pick it as a starter tractor is because it doesn't have the front loader option. And I see that as a useful thing to have. But if I've already got a tractor with a front loader, I don't, subsequent tractors I can make do without. So, as I said, I'm very biased towards Valtras. I think when I started playing Farm Sim 17, pretty much every game I started had at least one Valtra N in it. When I started the playthrough on Lawfolds, my first rule was I've driven Valtra N in every farm I've played so far, so I'm not going to have one on this farm. I'm going to find something different to play. I also did a couple of special one-offs, and on one of them I played the Hurleman XMT4i, which is kind of versatile. It doesn't have a huge engine, but it's got the front and rear 3-point and PTO, and it has front loader option. I did read from real world reviews on it that it's a heavy tractor and underpowered, so it doesn't accelerate well in the real world. But it was something different from a Valtra N to play with for a couple of hours. But that hasn't been ported over to Farm Sim 19. And the one mod of it that's been released for Farm Sim 19 is not a particularly good quality mod. I downloaded it, I took a look at it and said, it doesn't really look that good. So I dumped it. But it wasn't released on the mod hub, so it was just a sort of look-see. Sadly, consoles don't get much in the way of scripted mods. I would expect you to get seasons, because Giants are working with Realismus to incorporate that into the game. And I believe for Farm Sim 19 they actually had to patch in some handles for seasons to attach to. I mean, they could have scripted seasons in its entirety and not had any changes to Farm Sim 17. But then it would have only been available on PC. And I think because they won the mod contest last year, last game, Giants basically said, yes, we'll work with you in order to get this available on console as well. And I kind of assume they're going to do the same again this time around. And maybe by Farm Sim 21 we will have seasons incorporated into the base game from the get-go. Who knows? But yeah, for now I'm not a modder, because real world stuff. It's kind of how I generally am with games and TV shows as well. I'll do one of something, I won't do multiples. So sort of survival games, I've got Subnautica, I probably wouldn't play any other survival game. I would usually pick one combat flight sim per era. So I do Second World War, potentially a First World War, although I've never found one I was happy playing. Modern era jets, and space flight sim. But yeah, I wouldn't buy multiple Second World War flight sims. City building games, I think the last one I bought was SimCity. Whatever it was, the really bad word version. But up until that point, I only played SimCities. Oh, the old generation. Yeah, that one was done by Black Sheep Modding. That's a nice pack. It has a self-propelled mower, which is kind of cool. Bunch of old style tractors and equipment that fits them. I think the problem with a lot of old style equipment, people will do a mod of an old style tractor, but then it's very difficult to find equipment that the tractor will work with. I was looking through some alternate mod sites and came across an old John Deere set, and I don't. Oh, right about there. There's a thing. I don't think that's a marker. I said right about there. So I did miss a couple of bits. I'll drive across the field and deal with those. Yeah, there's a very old sort of 1950s John Deere pack. The problem is all they've got on the back is a hook, so they can only pull tippers from in-game, and the modder didn't provide us with any alternate equipment to fit to the back of them, so they're kind of useless. Yeah, what you've got to remember when you produce a mod is, if you produce modern equipment, stuff with 3-point hitch, stuff with PTOs, you can pretty much just do a tractor, drop it in the game, and based on horsepower requirements, you can use any piece of equipment that is currently in the game. But if you produce something from an earlier era when the standard 3-point and PTO didn't exist, then you have to provide other equipment that works with the tractor you just produced. And that's where that old style Massey Ferguson pack did work exceptionally well, because they didn't just produce the tractors, they produced small equipment that works with the tractors. Now obviously I believe those tractors all had standard 3-point hitches, but there's no way that they could haul a lot of the in-game plows and seeders and what have you. So they included some sort of small old equipment that would work with those tractors. and very appreciated, I believe. I mean, okay, everything on your farm is going to be branded Massey Ferguson, but it all ties together well. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, the Hurliman. You know, I think that's rated 100 horsepower. Yeah, this thing here, 90 horsepower. But I don't think we've got much in the way of, you know, 85 horsepower, 125. What else do we have? This thing is 143, that's 107, 145, 145. Let's run down the list. 105, 115, 150 on the Fiat. The T5 is 99. So, yeah, we've not really got anything below 85. But if you did want to produce a tractor that does have below 85 horsepower, then you are going to need some equipment to go with it. Yes. Yeah, sorry, whatever it's called. Because I noticed for Farm Sim 17, somebody else produced a sort of classic tractor pack, but I don't think it came with any equipment, so you're kind of stuck with it. You got to find some mods that work with it. Oh, I'm putting the weights over here, aren't I? So we done that. Oh, no engine momentum. There we go. We'll drop the front weight there. I'm going to put this away because it's kind of done all the jobs I need to do on my farm. Right now. I'm going to have to do chicken cleanup and sell some egg pallets, I think, but that's not an imperative I do this job. Where's my Deutz? Where's it gone? Must be over here. Okay. Must be over here somewhere, unless it fell off the edge of the world. Oh, there it is. I'm looking for a lime green tractor, and of course it's clay red. Okay, let's have a look at how it did on this field up here. We missed bits down the end, so I'll go and manually fill those in. Oh, please start the engine. There's a lot of interesting videos out there, I must admit. Check out occasionally. So what do we want to do here? Lower that, turn it on, and let's finish up the wheat. I think the problem with this field right now is there's a little wood sliver that's half fallen through the earth. I can't pick it up, but the tractor sees it and turns around and goes back the other way. That's a landscaping issue. Pick that up there. I'll run across the top edge because that goes all the way along. And then we'll come back and try and fill in the gap in the middle. Hopefully that's 4 meters. Oh, that's less than 4 meters. So long as I keep the wheel on the edge of the field, which isn't exactly uniform. I had actually started this stretch out with a plough and the roller. I leased both. And then just as I was finishing off, the 1.2 patch came out, which gave us access to landscaping tools. And so I did most of it with the roller, but then I went back and tidied it up with the landscaping painter. I really could do with raising the ground on the right there, because that's a horrible little dip. And we'll put that down there and fill out the rest of the field, and that one's done. Time is coming up to 11 o'clock. I have to get up in the morning and feed 5 kids and get them ready for church. So I'm going to run this over to the front of the house and leave myself a physical note of: you log in and you see a tractor loaded with a seeder in front of you. What do you do? Well, must be planning to do something with it. Okay, so I'll turn the engine off. I think I turned the engine off. I don't have the volume up high, so yeah, engine's off. I kind of would like to sell that tractor and buy a different one, but we're kind of broke. Okay, so that is everything done here. I could also use a silo on this farm, although it's kind of a luxury. I just sell what I harvest when I harvest it. And we're in the hole for 170,000. Could pay off 20. Take us down to 150. Oops. Or 150. Okay. So, nice round number there. We have 25 chickens. I think I started with 19 and a rooster, so we're coming on okay with chickens. It's going to take us a while to get the 200 for the what is it? Chicken breeding achievement. Contracts available. So, as I said earlier, this was just a quick dive into Farm Sim 19 and make sure everything was working as I like it. Okay. So I will say thank you for watching. Have a good rest of the weekend. I may stream tomorrow after 8 o'clock. That is very undecided at the moment. Outside of that, I will be back after 8 o'clock on Monday with World of Warships. For the next week, all of my main streams will be after the 8 o'clock point of the day, because we now have kids in the house and they don't go to bed till 8 o'clock, and they make noise and they need baths and they need food. So I have to help with that. I will be spending the next week making considerations for an expanded streaming schedule. I decided I would like to do an expanded streaming schedule before we got the kids, so it's as I can fit it in. One of the reasons I want to go for an expanded schedule is so that I can play more maps than just Estancia Lapacho, and maybe introduce some other games into the stream, but we're going to have to play it by ear for the next week and see where we're standing. So anyway, that was me waffling on about stuff. Okay. Oh, there we go. So I will say thank you for watching. Have a good weekend. I am Osei. I'm out of here. I need some sleep.